From the Chapin Theater in Orlando, Florida, it's The Gathering Live with your hosts, Heath Mulligan, Anthony Casey, Steven Sheets, and now, here's your host, Heath Mulligan.
Welcome to The Gathering Live. We are so excited you could join us for this historic event. I also want to thank and welcome David Drury, who's our guest host this evening. Hey, welcome everybody. Man, this is good stuff, man. Now, before we get too far into this pre-show, there are a lot of people we want to thank for making this possible. Steven, start us off there, brother.
Yeah, there's no question. We have a long list of people, but we especially want to say thanks to Russ Gonzalez. He really pulled some strings to make this happen months ago. He got in contact with us and asked us if we would be willing to put things together to make this happen for the pre and post show, and it's a privilege. Yeah, for sure. We also need to say thanks to Charlie Alcock and the whole team from Indiana Wesleyan for giving us some room here backstage. We're kind of hiding out. We're kind of watching people trickle in a little bit, and we're kind of in the way. But they're all being very gracious, so we appreciate it.
A couple weeks ago, he was in South Carolina. Heath and I had a chance to be with him, and just great guy, and was such a big help and put a lot of our fears. We had so many questions, and he just answered those questions, so big thanks to him. Also, we want to thank the guy I like to call the boy wonder.
Whoa. He's not a boy anymore, Tony. He just turned 30.
You're right. He just had his big 30th birthday. Matthew TG is the guy who makes the magic happen. He does all the tech stuff, and so a big shout out to him. All of our events started this week with the International Conference of the Wesleyan Church, and that was streamed live. Now, if you didn't have a chance to see that, all of that is on the Technology Show YouTube page. All you have to do is go to youtube.com, The Technology Show, /The Technology Show, and that's all one word.
So everything kind of happening tonight started at General Conference 2012 when we just went as the Technology Show and said, man, what if we kind of did analysis on General Conference, and it just got this wave of support. And so kind of from that and working with Russ, that's what we wanted to do. We know there's people all around the world who are not able to be here live in Orlando. And so we wanted to kind of make this a special experience for you. And even those who are here, maybe you're hogging the Wi-Fi in the convention center. But every night we're going to be doing 30 minutes before the main rally, a pre-show just like this where we talk about what's happening. We'll have a special guest. And every night after the main rally, that night's speaker is going to come to us for an exclusive interview, and then we'll just kind of wrap up the events of that day. I did mention David Drury. He's our guest host tonight. He's the Chief of Staff for Dr. Joanne Lyon, who's the North American General Superintendent of the Wesleyan Church. David, again, we brought you on because you were there with us at General Conference 2012, and that was probably one of the most fun times I've ever had.
We had a blast, that's for sure. It was a great week.
You've been, it's 2.5 years ago, so you've been at General Conference, you've been at the General Headquarters for that 2.5 years. What's that ride been like? And, the state of the church, all of that stuff?
Well, it's a beautiful thing. I mean, nobody ever woke up some Monday morning and thought, the coolest thing in the world is a denomination. But when you think about it, the idea of getting thousands of churches and hundreds of thousands of people all going in the same direction to make our churches more missional, to plant more churches that are missional, that is a mission that is very, very big. And it's been an amazing thing, and I think it takes a unique season in the life of a denomination for that to truly happen, and I think we're in it.
Cool.
Cool. Another thing, we have kind of grown up. We're similar age, three of us around the table. But we've kind of grown up at these kinds of events within the life of Wesleyan youth. And your dad, Dr. Drury, Coach Drury, one of my personal heroes and I'm a former student of his, kind of paved the way for conventions within our denomination, and we've kind of transitioned not just to do them for youth and kids, but now we're seeing a convention style for pastors and spouses, like the Gathering now, the third one so far. How have you seen that transition take place, and what's next?
Well, what's beautiful is I think that the youth movement, which is really what you're talking about, there was a real movement of youth pastors and people that were part-time youth volunteers, or even just lay people that love teenagers, who came together and not only did local youth ministry, but did these massive youth conference events. And that was a huge part of the Wesleyan movement. And it influenced, I think, the whole thing. It's a great example of young people influencing the broader deal. And so, it's fascinating to watch. There's a lot of people behind the scenes at this event who ran those events back in the day. And what's more, many of the people were called to the ministry at those events as teenagers.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think back to my history. I was called into ministry in some ways from birth. Always felt that God wanted me to be a minister. But I had never really come out about that. I'd never really told anyone. And at Pace 86, I was only 12 years old. That's telling you exactly how old I am. I turned 40 this year. You had a little bracelet, and you were supposed to take that thing off.
I was there.
It wasn't just collecting the bracelet so you could leave. And you took it forward while Dwight Robertson was playing the piano, and you said, I am called to the ministry. And literally, several thousands of us were called in. And so, for me, being behind the scenes at this one, just remembering God can do that kind of thing, not just in the young, but the young can influence every generation.
Yeah, there was a neat missions dimension to that conference, too, whave just the whole burden for Brazil at the time, and young people really responded to that. I remember that vividly.
I mean, all of us have been to our fair share of conventions, and so many Wesleyans have had their Aldersgate experience at a youth convention. I didn't grow up in the Wesleyan church, but my first experience really with the big Wesleyan church was at Exalt 94. And I didn't really make any real big heart decisions, but I decided I want to be a part of this. I mean, I was just a farm boy Baptist from South Carolina who was studying at Southern Wesleyan, but just being in that environment. How many years? 20 years later, 21 years. And here we are.
That's right.
Tony, I know you've had your share of experiences.
My journey's a little different. I actually started out in the Nazarene church and was in just a really tough situation as a kid, and went to a Nazarene camp meeting. You were joking me in the pre-show. Was there sawdust on the trails?
It had to have been.
Yeah, well, there weren't.
Back in the 40s.
Yeah, there wasn't sawdust on the trails. But at 14 years old, gave my life to Christ in this atmosphere, and it was a huge decision because it meant that I had to move from one home to another, and that was the transition for me. And then it was 4 years later at a youth conference where I sensed God's call. And so these events, they're life-changing events. They're anchor moments in the lives of many people.
David, you mentioned Pace 86. Steven, what's the moment for you?
94, Exalt 94. Same thing. I was a kid in high school going to a conference with my youth group, and I remember well going forward with some of my peers to make a decision, feeling the Lord's call upon my life, make a decision to get up and go down front and say, Lord, whatever it is, vocational ministry or being a Christian truck driver, I'm all in.
I'm in.
Whatever you want. Yep.
David, you have this unique perspective now because you've been in local church ministry. Now you're in a headquarters position. So what is coming up, leading up to this? I know there's a lot of anxiety. If you've seen us, man, we have been running around trying to make things happen.
Man.
But there is this sense of anticipation, of expectation. What is that like, kind of from the headquarters point of view, leading up to this?
Well, it's funny. We all talked about calling at these youth conventions and camp meetings. And I think part of what the expectation here is we're still called. It wasn't just something that happened in the 70s or 80s or 90s or the 40s. It's something that happened.
I can't believe they polluted you, man.
It's not just something that happened way back then. It's every day. And so this whole conference is about the pastor. And a lot of times when a pastor goes to an event, they feel like it's all about what they need to do.
Yep.
It's a to-do list. They go home with 50 post-it notes and a binder that they're going to put on the shelf and a whole load of guilt in the suitcase.
Yeah. Right.
And what this event, and I love how Russ and the team have designed it, it's not about what a pastor needs to do, it's about who the pastor is. It's who they are. And that man or woman is still called, and they need to be refreshed and rejuvenated.
Right.
And they might go away with some neat ideas, but mostly they're going to go away encouraged and have that sense that they're a part of a unified culture that believes in them and is going to help equip them for the huge thing God has called them to do.
Yeah. Can I just butt in here? You're talking about, this probably leads into your next question, but you and I had the conversation a couple of days ago. What do you anticipate from this event? Yeah. And my thought was this. I was 2 or 3 weeks ago just really discouraged, came into a district meeting just discouraged, and our district superintendent he was praying and he said, God, thank you that we are involved in something that means something.
Wow.
And it just changed the whole tone for me. And for this conference, that's what I hope, that this sense of, we're doing kingdom business, and affirmed in that.
We want to just give you some information about the live stream. If you're watching this, you can go online and watch all this. Tonight, we have a very special guest speaker, Dr. Bob Roberts. He spoke at an event today called Multiply that was put on by the Church Multiplication and Discipleship Division. We did live stream that. That will be posted later online.
And Bob is going to mess you up.
Yeah, you say he spoke. He did more than speak. He stepped on our toes. He slapped us around a little bit, and we came out of that changed.
But I love this idea that the kingdom of God is now. Sometimes we get hung up that it's out there in eternity somewhere. The kingdom of God's it's right here. Jesus says, I'm here. The kingdom is here.
And I really believe, I think, for these events, the planners do a wonderful job, as you hear when we talk about the other speakers. They do a good job of balancing, of getting people from outside the denomination, people from inside the denomination, and I think we're going to be very blessed tonight because I think Dr. Roberts is going to speak prophetically over our denomination. Because today was just...
It was awesome.
It was
uncomfortable, but in a good way.
Yeah.
And then immediately following the rally tonight, we're going to have Dr. Roberts for an interview. In the morning, 11 a.m. on Wednesday morning, we'll start our pre-show. The main rally's at 11:30 with Joanna Solis Walker. I'm excited to hear her speak.
That'll be good.
Wednesday night at 6:30, again, our pre-show. 7 o'clock, the main rally is Speaker Ken Murphy from Columbus, Ohio. Just he spoke at General Conference, and I watched that. I knew he was speaking, and I just watched that, a couple weeks ago, and just a dynamic speaker. Thursday, we've got a special treat. We'll do the pre-show again, 11 a.m. 11:30, the main rally features speakers Dr. Joel and Becky Hunter, and I'm excited about that because we've got our pre-show host.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give it away, but it's going to be a ministry couple.
Yeah.
And
that's going to be a great pre-show.
And then on Thursday night, everything closes out, 6:30 pre-show, 7 p.m. the main rally with Kyle Ray, the pastor of Kentwood Community Church in Michigan. And again, there's so many places you can go to watch. Steven, tell everybody.
Honestly, you want to keep a tab open in your browser to wesleyanevents.com. You need to be there. You want to keep that site open. There's a chat room that's going on all the time. People have been on since Sunday. So you want to be in there. There's conversation, there's community, there's a gathering taking place online for you to be a part of. The live stream video will be right there on the top of the page. You can push play anytime. You can also just click on that video, go right to our YouTube channel and see all of the past videos to keep up and find out what's been going on. But that's the place to go. And also, if you're using your computer at home and you're a part of the gathering at home, we want to know about it. We would love for you, first of all, to send an email to Russ Gonzalez. We'll put his email address on screen, hopefully, and you can email him there. It's Gonzalez
T just got you covered.
Gonzalez R at Wesleyan.org, and send him an email just letting him know that you have tuned in and that you appreciate this technology and technology as we're focused on it. But also, if you're on social media, on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, be sure and use the official hashtag.
The only one.
The official hashtag of this event is G 15 clergy. So use that in any time that you're posting online, and we'll be able to see all of those posts and keep them together.
So each night, each rally has a theme, and tonight's theme is We Hope.
We hope.
So here we are. We're here from all over the world. Yeah. Steven, what is your hope for this event tonight?
I hope for a refreshing.
Yeah.
I'm exhausted. Lots of miles traveled. I know there's exhausted people out there from ministry life, now traveling. Now we're here in Orlando. It's hot. It's sticky. It's been raining yesterday. I hope for refreshing across our denomination. Not just for me personally, but yes, for me personally. But across our denomination, I hope people will be tuned into the Spirit and be refreshed.
Yeah, absolutely. David, what about you?
Well, I love that each of the components of this conference have we in front of it. You know, it's we hope tonight, and we this, that, and the other thing. I think there's even a sign that says we go to the bathroom over here. It's all we. The point is it's about community, it's about unity, it's we are together. Right. Yeah. And I have 1,000 hopes. I could go on and on about it. But one hope I have is for the people that are watching this.
Yeah.
They would not be doing this. You right now would not be doing this if you weren't a part of that we. You're a Wesleyan geek like the rest of us.
Right on.
You're caring enough to do this, and in a way setting aside time in your life. You couldn't get here because you didn't have the funds. You couldn't get here because there were demands back at your church or in your community or in your home or your family. And you know what? You're a part of this. And so part of what I hope is that you who are at home watching this, would have hope again too. You might be a part of many of the people here that have just kind of run out on hope. And I hope that you have hope again, because God is going to encourage you, I think, through this event.
You know, for me, I feel like that hope has already been accomplished. We have had a dream, and when I say we, Heath, Matthew, who you can't see over here running things, we have said that there's no reason why we can't bring you into an event like this. We have the technology. We can bring the Wesleyan Church, the whole Wesleyan Church together. And so for me, I have other hopes, but I feel like one of these hopes have been reached. We are so privileged to be able to do this, and really hope and that you sense what we sense here, and thank you for tuning in with us.
Yeah, and if you're tuning in, my hope is that there's a chat room down below, and we don't just want you to watch it. You can interact. It was great today at the Multiply event. Yeah. People who did not know each other from different parts of the world.
Making connections.
We're making connections, and there's just this sense of family.
And they were asking questions. We had a discussion group. Steven and I were leading, and so you saw people in discussion groups. We had our own great questions and discussion going on.
So anyway, the time has come. We've arrived from far and wide in cars, planes, trains, buses, and church vans, some with dually wheels. There are over 2,100 Wesleyans gathered here in Orlando. We hope that God not only meets those gathered here, but those scattered around the world. We're grateful for the opportunity to bring you the gathering live.
We are.
Again, we want to thank David Drury for joining us tonight on the pre-show. So for Steven Sheets, Tony Casey, Matthew T.G., I'm Heath Mulliken. This has been the Gathering Live, and it's time for the main rally.